this last eternity. Have faith you never win.
Oh, it's your fight, it's your channel. You won. Hey everybody, this is Ted from Ted's Takes on Wrestling, and I'm over here on the Jaded Wrestling YouTube channel with Taylor, and this is his channel, but for some reason I'm leading the discussion tonight. So, hey Taylor, what's going on?
Nothing. I just felt like on our first episode said I should just shiv all the responsibilities to you. Just shove them all to you and just let you do all the work. And I'm just going to be a passenger. That's what I feel like is the best way to do a podcast is I let the person that's good at talking do all the talking.
Okay, so this is sort of like the invasion thing where TNA's invading NXT, I guess. So, you know.
Would you be Matt Cardona in this scenario? Is that how this works? Do you think?
But see, here's the problem I have. And I know we're not talking about that, but I'm just going to hit this real quick. An invasion angle, you're supposed to go to another promotion and tell them that they suck and you do things better than they do. But everybody on that TNA roster would sign with WWE in a heartbeat.
So fast. So fast.
So
they would literally slap their mother for a contract at WWE.
Yeah. So why are you invading? Okay, it makes no sense. Anyway.
So true. So
anyway.
we're here today to talk about AEW Double or Nothing 2019, aka the first pay-per-view that AEW did. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm sure you do too. I don't want this to be a review podcast though.
No.
So I don't want to do match by match. Oh, I really like this match. You know, it's not what we're here to do.
No.
I want to kind of start though with what your overall thoughts are on the ability of AEW to look like a company that could survive long term in 2019.
Well, yeah, that was the whole thing. Going back to see if it stood up time and really reflecting now 6 years later, it was just an amazing feat because you think about they started out with a pay-per-view model. They had some pay-per-views monthly until the TV deal kicked in the fall. And, TNA had to do the same thing when they started in 2002. They did a monthly pay-per-view. But again, 2002 compared to 2019, TNA was just going by word of mouth, but they did everything online, social media, YouTube, with the BTE and all this stuff to generate this buzz to where here's where you got to think about the wrestling fan mindset. There was I think 12 or 13,000 in Vegas there, and it sold out in less than 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So that's how hungry the wrestling fans were in 2019 for an alternative.
For sure. I also think when we look back, we look at the growth of how much they've grown in 6 years too. Like the ability of some of these wrestlers to look like completely different wrestlers, where they're growing and getting better, and the people that are still on TV that are in this pay-per-view are 1,000 times better than they were in this pay-per-view, with the exception of Kenny Omega. Everybody else is just gotten leaps and bounds better. Everybody. And it's amazing what 6 years can do with all these guys are none of these guys are new wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like all these guys have good experience on the indies, but not a lot of experience with TV, with the exception of Cody, Dustin, and Chris. There's not a lot of TV experience in this pay-per-view. So it's a lot of people kind of getting their footing, figuring out things. The growth of the Young Bucks alone should be studied. Like they have completely grown up before our eyes. Like they were already good talents. It's not that I'm not saying they're bad because, and we'll get into that match in a minute. That match was fantastic, but the growth of the Young Bucks alone should be studied. Like they have gotten so much better. And they were already so good. Like, it's incredible to me how much better they've gotten in the span of 6 years.
Well, and to me, the scary one is how much even better MJF has gotten.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
in 6 years, I mean, he was already showing. It was like, because they gave him the extra spot where he come out and done the promo with Bret Hart and Hangman, and then here long-term storytelling. But AEW don't tell stories. They're finally crossing paths, and you know, and MJF referenced that. He's referenced that. So, and just his growth to where, you know, he says he's a generational talent, and you know, I think anybody that disagree with that is just, you know,
Not
just
watching. Is not
not
watching.
watching. Absolutely.
And I think in this one, he early on, and I felt this way a lot with the early AEW. It felt like he was playing the version of himself that is, I call it cheap heat. Like he tries really hard to go for the low blows, and that makes people hate him, which it's a good way to generate heat. Don't get me wrong, especially if you're new and people are just learning who you are. The way to do it is to spit beer in people's faces and to call out people's favorite wrestlers, even though they're old and they're obviously not going to fight you. And you know what I mean? Like, we do things like that. And then he grows into a person that, look at what he's done in the last 6 months with Mark Briscoe. Like, what an incredible story they told together. And the amount he has matured as a person who tells stories. You're right. It's infallible how much he's grown as a storyteller.
Yes.
I mean, he's been a great wrestler. Like it's been there in the matches. Like that's never changed. But I thought he couldn't get better at promos, and I think he's gotten way, way better at promos too. And that's, again, not saying that he's bad. Just like we talked about the Young Bucks, I'm not sitting here saying he's bad. I'm just saying the growth is incredible when you have someone that gets to go every week and practice their craft. It's incredible. And you got to think that's probably why Kobe Bryant was hitting the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning. You know what I mean? Like, there's still work to be done. And I think that's the magic of watching these old pay-per-views is you get to see these people at their earliest. And truthfully, we're not probably going to talk about the match, but even Britt Baker, like, she looks so good in this pay-per-view. And maybe it's because the rest of the roster has passed her by this point. But she's a person that looked way better than everybody else here. And then now it's like, man, did she not get better or what happened? Because it felt like in this pay-per-view, even Britt Baker was like, God, dude, she looks so fucking good today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what were your favorite matches on this pay-per-view?
Well, my favorite out of all of them, just because of the story it was told, was Cody and Dustin.
Okay, yeah, I think that's an easy answer for one of the best AEW matches of all time too. I don't just think it's the best of the pay-per-view. I think it's one of the best of all time. What a story they told, and I watched all this with Grandpa, and Grandpa loves a bloody match. So that was probably his favorite match too, just because you never see that on WWE. You don't see the bleeding of buckets anymore. And I was wondering during watching that match if Cody was thinking in his head, like, kind of worried about his brother because there was so much blood coming out of Dustin. Like, I don't know if he overgigged or what he did, but...
Yeah, I heard an interview he did, and he said that was the one time when he got back to the back after the match, he was worried. Dustin himself was concerned.
That's a lot of blood. And I think since then, we've seen a couple instances where people have bled like that in AEW. Like, that's not the first time, and I'm sure it's not the last time. We're going to see it again. But I think that's one of the times where when he's in the hold and he's upside down and he's just dripping, it's just constant pour of blood. I'm like, oh, dude, you gotta maybe take a break or something. You're gonna.
And I want to give props. Because now that we're 6 years in and we saw that match as a beginning, and we know there's been a lot of blood, Hangman, Swerve Strickland, Moxley, there was it 2 years ago. If you just breathed on him hard, he was bleeding. You know, it was just blood. I want to give a shout out to the ring crew that gets that, that tarp off there and gets the new one on real quick and gets everything cleaned up, because these guys are like, I was thinking of them they need to be like in a John Wick movie, you know, where he calls the cleaning crew to come and gives them a couple of gold coins to clean up the house, and they get rid of all the blood stains.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the AEW ring crew. You know,
They just tell him, take care of it. We'll get you a little extra on the back end.
you know, and growing up watching wrestling in the 70s and 80s, if you see some of those old ones, if they bled in the first match, it didn't get cleaned. I mean, you know, the rest of the matches, you know, that's why, I mean, if Flair and Dusty were in the main event, it was okay. But, you know, like I remember one of the Starcades, I can't remember which one it was, where Abdullah and Manny Fernandez were like the second match, you know, and they were bleeding because Abdullah's going to bleed. So
everybody getting hepatitis, the whole crew getting hepatitis because I think
the
Abdullah had it.
Just on the match the whole time.
That's a dangerous precedent to play when you got Abdullah wrestling to just let the blood sit.
Yeah.
Everybody getting it. I don't think that was my favorite match of the night, though. To be honest,
Which one was yours?
I think I gotta go main event here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need blood to be entertained. And it really felt like Kenny was setting a formula for the way that 5-star matches in AEW are going to be wrestled for the rest of the 6 years. Like, every one of these 5-star matches that we've had recently, he's setting like a blueprint for how it's supposed to be. Like, him and Jericho beat the dog shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And his face is like swollen and puffy and beat up. And he was taking real shots to the nose. Like, that wasn't a gig that he did. His nose was really bleeding. So I think for me, I don't think you get much better than Jericho and Kenny Omega. And watching this reminded me how good Jericho was 6 years ago. Like, I think for me, I'm the biggest Jericho supporter, and I never let people shit talk Jericho. Like, I never do. Anybody says anything bad about Jericho, I'm the first one in the door to defend him. I've never been one of those just retire people. I always have Jericho's back. But he has digressed in 6 years. That is absolutely true. He has absolutely gotten worse over the last 6 years. And again, that's not saying that he's terrible, because he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's in my fucking Mount Rushmore. I don't know about you, but he's in my fucking Mount Rushmore. And I think this match should prove to anyone that he can do anything. Like, there's just an incredible way to use. I still, like, I know he's not much for the Judas effect anymore, but I think it's so interesting to take an MMA move and make it your finisher and make it believable. Like, no one else could make it believable at a top tier moment to be able to hit someone with the Judas effect and believe, okay, he's done for. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
it's funny you're talking about that, because I also today I went back on Jericho's podcast, and he did one about Double or Nothing 2019, like the week before the event. And he was actually talking about leading up to it and talking about that move. And he said that he wanted to go with something because he tells even young wrestlers, even back then, if you can't do your finisher on the big show, then you might want to change your finisher.
Right.
And he said the Judas effect, he said, I could do it on Big Show if I needed to, or I could do it on Rey Mysterio. Right. So he said, I wanted to go with something that I could do on anybody, and it looked impactful. So I thought
imagine Kenny trying to hit a one-wing angel on Big Show.
I think he would try. I mean, I don't know how it would look, but I think he would try.
Yeah, that's what I need. But also, before we move on, can we talk about what Kenny's body is? Like, he has the body of a fucking 90s wrestler, does he not? Like, I never noticed it before, but, like, watching his pay-per-view, he's got an action figure's body. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, his legs are, like, regular sized, and then you split his torso, and it's like he's like Triple H on steroids. Yeah. It's insane. Like, he has a really, really insane body for the stuff that he does in this match. Like, it's mind-blowing. Like, if he's not one of the best, I don't know who is, because that shit banged. And he's just putting numbers up since.
You know, I would like to go back on Cage Match and look, but if you look at Kenny's singles AEW run that he's had since he's been there, and even when he's been in New Japan and all that, Kenny is not afraid to take a pin. And I
Definitely
love
not.
that about him.
Yeah,
It's like
definitely not.
Brian Danielson, another one who we always put in, that category of best ever. He would get pinned all the time, you
Hmm.
know. And I think that was just something about Kenny. He's going in EVP. This is supposed to be the company he helped start, main event, but he knew the crossover effect that they needed Jericho to be their first world champion,
Yeah, for
and
sure. For
he
sure.
took the pin, and I just thought that was great.
And man, I can't say enough about like there were moments of this match where I even got my son to watch it with me, and he does not like wrestling. And when he stomped that table on top of Jericho, my son was scared. Like he was scared that he had
Okay,
legitimately hurt Jericho. Like,
okay, let's talk about that table. Okay, so I know Tony Khan's a billionaire, and this is their first try at this. But where did they get the table? At a flea market that did not look like a regulation uh, wrestling table that you crashed through. I mean, this
well,
looks sort of like there was a guy that did a YouTube short a while back where he had his friend put him through a table at like a party, and it looked like that table, like he got it off Facebook Marketplace or something.
it was something like that. And as someone who knows what that feels like, because you're definitely talking about me, um, it's not fun when the table doesn't break. It's not that fun. It's
Yeah,
not an enjoyable experience when the table doesn't break. It's also not enjoyable if you cut the table too much and you break it too easy.
right.
So I think at one point they said, "Damn, that table is not gonna break." And then Kenny does the flip into it, and it's like, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah,
Like he just had to hit it in the right spot. They were just missing every time. But man, when he put his feet into that, I don't know how it didn't break. Like I don't know
yeah,
if it's because the legs weren't down or what was going on. But that had to have hurt so bad. Like I would just like to ask Jericho if he can tell me what moves that he's taken have hurt the worst.
yeah,
Because I'm betting that him taking that table into the arm had to hurt so bad, dude. Like it hurt so bad. Like I don't know how he got up so fast. It must have been adrenaline or the recovery
yeah,
process, but he got up so fast and just moved on. And I don't know that I could ever be a wrestler because I'm such a baby. Like I would want to cry so bad after having my arm literally smashed under a table and just being like, it's okay. Let's just move on.
Okay, we just move on. Well, so what was your thoughts about the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers?
I think they wrestled a very, I don't know how to word this without being shitty. Um, I think as we move on, and what do they have? Four more matches, three more matches after this. Um, I think every
Well,
match they have gets better. Like I think
well,
in the lexicon of the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, I think they get better every single time they wrestle. And this is a great match. Like it's not to say that this
right.
match sucks at all. It's just this is the first of many, and they're still figuring out the style of a TV pay-per-view, which I know this isn't a TV pay-per-view, but they're trying to get the idea of how this is going to work for a mainstream audience. And the Young Bucks were not seasoned to that at all. So they're doing all
Well,
kinds of shit that's like, you know what I mean? Like we would do this at a house show, but it's to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And for me, there was definitely shit in that I was like, what the hell is that you just did? And
yeah,
even like me and Grandpa were watching it, just giggling at some of the things that the Lucha Brothers were doing that were just like picking him up and like slamming him on Nick. Like at one point, he just picked Penta up and just threw him on top of Nick, and it's just like, what even is that? Like,
yeah.
what are you even doing? And it's not again to say that it's bad. It's just something you don't typically see, and they learn to lean into the props in the later matches. Like they learn that they don't have to go so spot heavy because this
Yeah.
match is just spots all over the place.
Well, and that was my thought. I mean, the first time you watch them, where I hadn't seen them do their stuff before in Japan or Mexico, oh, this is mind blowing. But then they've had so many matches in AEW because you also got to remember they did that best of seven series that ended with
Hmm.
the ladder match.
Yep.
So that was seven matches right there, plus that cage match. when the Lucha Brothers won the tag titles and all that. So
That's the Spike Shoe match, correct? The cage
yes,
match. That's
yeah.
my favorite of theirs. That's my favorite match
So
they've ever had. The Spike Shoe
so
match.
that's what I'm saying. Once I go back and look at it, and I'm like, this probably wasn't your all's best match. You've done some more, but the others, Kenny and Jericho hadn't wrestled that much, so that was still fresh.
Take
Totally
the rest of
dusted.
those matches away though, and it's still a really really good match. Like if it
Right.
wasn't for the amount of matches that they've wrestled at the caliber that they've wrestled, then this match is way better than it seems. Like again, it's
Yeah.
not. If you grade this by itself, this is like a B. But if you
Yeah.
put this with the rest of their matches, it turns it into like a C because all those other matches by proxy are A's and above.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just again, I talked about it at the beginning of this. The Young Bucks growth is incredible. Like they have grown so much as wrestlers, and at this point, they're already what 10 years in at least.
Probably.
So I mean, they're not young men. Like I think Nick is 29 and Matt is 34. I think is what they said. So I could be wrong, and I could have them mixed up. So either way, but they have, right now one of them's 40 and one of them's
Late 30s.
late 30s. So yeah, so I mean like they've in 6 years they've really wrestled a lot, but they've also really grown a lot. And I think
Yeah.
if you put together like the list of the greatest tag teams, they're starting to make it undeniable that they're in there. Like there's obviously one other AEW team that they're never going to surpass. And we all know who that is. And they're not on this pay-per-view, but we all know who that is. Yep, there you go. There's one team they're never going to pass. But they absolutely should be considered with the best of the best. Because the innovation, even in this match, right at the beginning, the innovation is there. And that's the stuff that wrestling fans should be wanting. Like a lot of people love to call them spot monkeys, and they love to call them choreographers and dancers and all this other bullshit that they say because it's not 1989 wrestling and they're not just doing lariats the whole time. And that's just not the way that sports and life works. Like everything evolves and everything has different versions. And if you can't accept and understand every version, then you shouldn't be able to have a voice to grade things. So, in my estimation, while they're not top 5 all time, they should probably be top 10 of all time, at least. And I don't know if I'm maybe being a little generous there, but I don't think they're top 5 tag teams all the time. But I do think they should be closer to top 10.
Oh, Devin, when their run is finished and people look back on it, they'll have to put them up there somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially if you just look at innovation alone, like they have done so much stuff that's like, how in the hell did you do that? Like
Yeah.
that recent match they had, oh God, what was the last match they had on the pay-per-view where they were dressed as the founding fathers? Who did they wrestle? That's going to bother me. I'm having a blank moment. I'm sorry. Anyway, go back and watch that last match they had on the pay-per-view where they were dressed as the founding fathers. Jesus Christ. Like, they blew the doors off that place. And it's every single time the boys wrestle. Like, every single time the Bucks lace it up. And I hate them as faces. Like, I'll go ahead and say it. Their faces here, I hate them as faces. I don't want them to be faces ever. It's the worst thing in the world. They're not believable as faces. But when they hit their run right and their heels, there's nobody better than the Young Bucks. Nobody in the world. So, I don't know. Like, I think this pay-per-view definitely did what it was supposed to do. Like, it definitely integrated a new company. It definitely brought in some favorites from TNA and Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels. It brought in some favorites from WWE and Chris Jericho, Dustin Rhodes, Cody, obviously. There's a lot of different people in a lot of different places all over the place, which I think is really, really interesting. I did have one more thing. What'd you go ahead?
And Moxley coming in the surprise at the end.
Right. So the surprise definitely should really, really excite anyone, which leads to some really, really good matches in the next few pay-per-views with Moxley. The dude's a stud. And I don't particularly love him, but he has some really, really good matches to start off in this company. And I think we'll obviously get to those in the coming weeks. But I have like one more thing I kind of wanted to talk about this pay-per-view, and I didn't notice it. I had my friend watch it, and one of my other co-hosts, my mini co-host of the podcast, Holly, watched it, and she wanted to bring up the idea of how you introduce women's wrestlers in particular. And I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it because I thought it was an interesting point she made. And, you don't always think about things when they're put in because it's always through the channel of your brain. But when Awesome Kong came out, which another TNA great to see her, when they brought her out, they go, oh, she's 200 and plus pounds and she's huge. And Holly was like, do they have to introduce her like that? So I wanted to get your take on if it's a weight thing, do they have to introduce her like that? Or is that just how they introduce monster heels? Because that's how I responded to her saying that. I was like, they did the same thing to Vader. It's not like they were specifying it to her because she's big. They would have introduced Vader the same way. She's a monster heel, right?
Well, here, to me, it was just a comparison in, like you said, most of these wrestlers, say just your basic wrestler, 200 to 240 pounds. So when you announce Vader at 400 pounds or the Big Show at 500 pounds, you're like, oh my gosh, that person's twice the size, right? So even though these girls, a lot of them are, $115, $120?
Yeah, $120 probably, yeah.
So when you say there's a female out there that's 200 plus pounds, I don't think it's to disparage her. I think it's to say, look at the difference. This woman is double the size of these other women.
Right. But it's not, in that same match, you have Nyla Rose, correct? Who's also a full-figured gal.
Yeah.
Also probably sitting around that as well. And I don't know why we have to introduce Awesome Kong this way when we don't introduce Nyla Rose that way. Nyla Rose is allowed to just be whatever she wants. Is it basically to make sure that we don't not recognize what Awesome Kong is? Because I think her resume alone should allow people to do that. Is there a better way to do that than go by a weight, I guess is what I'm asking? Like if we went on just like, wow, she's huge, or, I guess that's not much better. You probably wouldn't want to say that to a lady.
But here's the thing. If we want to treat the women equal in wrestling, we're getting ready to have blood and guts for the women.
Yeah, we are.
So if we're going to treat them equal, we're going to let them bleed. Then guess what? Get over your weight complex, ladies. Okay, we're going down to your weight. We're going
That's
down
a great point. That's a great point, dude.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. See, that's why I think the conversation is important because honestly, like, I don't really see and take offense to it. But again, as a bigger guy, I don't really have a complex with my weight, and then other people probably do. I don't really know how that works.
And like I said, for women, it may be different. I have no clue. I've been married over 30 years, and I still don't understand women. So I may not be the person to talk about this. So I don't know.
I don't know. I love an uncomfortable conversation. You're welcome. I'm glad I could.
It's one of those things. I don't know. It's like I heard somebody talking. All the Riho controversy.
Oh gosh.
But I did hear an interesting point that doesn't get talked about. I know the weight might be different. But as far as height, AJ Lee is only 1 inch taller than Riho.
That's insane. And probably not that much bigger weight-wise either, I wouldn't say.
But is anybody saying that about AJ Lee?
No, but she's also, the same point applies, though. Like, they're dressing her like a teenage girl, too. It's not that much crazier, and nobody has a problem with it. It's interesting. You're not wrong at all, dude. I think in the coming weeks, I'm really excited more than anything. Like, I'm really excited to see a lot of these main events, but I'm really excited to get my teeth sunk into actual Riho matches because I wasn't watching for the first few years. And that's when Riho was really making her run. So I'm really excited in the coming weeks to get to watch more Riho because every time she shows up, I'm impressed and I'm excited to see her. And she does stuff that I've never seen anybody do. And I think there is only about 5 wrestlers that I feel that way about. Beast Mortos, Bandito, Riho. There's not that many that every time they wrestle, I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, what'd you even do there? Like, what was that thing? Like, how is that even like a human feat that a person can actually do that? It's mind blowing. So, anyway, to finish this off, let me get a letter grade for this pay-per-view. What do you think?
I'm going to go, since it was their first one, they were trying. I'm going to go an A minus.
Okay. I'm going to be a little bit more critical because I know we're going to have better.
Okay, I
agree.
We're going. I'd say a B plus then. B plus.
I was going to say I'll go B. Okay. I think it was very, very good. I think I could have probably skipped a few of the earlier matches and been just fine. But
again, and that's the other thing. Tony Khan was setting a precedent back then. I'm going to give you 4 hours at least, whether you like it or not, in 9 or 10 matches.
He is no doubt going to give you a Golden Corral buffet of wrestling. Like some people like steak, some people like baked potatoes, some people like chicken, some people like spaghetti, some people want salad. He's going to give you a little bit of everything. So he started off with that fucking SCU match, and he was like, listen, here's your fucking fish sticks. You want fish sticks? Go get them. They're here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he gives you, everybody gets what they want, which I don't hate, don't get me wrong. But I think the caliber has improved a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, he's he was showing back then that just wait. You think this pay-per-view is long? I'm going to give you a pay-per-view that is longer than Lord of the Rings, Return of the King Extended Edition on HBO Max.
I'm glad you could get your favorite movie plug in there. Good job. Oh, yeah. I'm really proud of you. Now I'm going to do mine. Monsters Inc. All right, guys. Well, if you enjoyed this, we're going to try to do one of these a week, I think. And we're going to keep pushing through these AEW pay-per-views because we love it, you love it. And come back next week for more.
And don't forget to subscribe, comment, share, and all that jazz.
All right. Tell them about your channel, too, before we go, because they already know mine because they're on my page.
I can't get monetized, but still go over there and check it out.
Ted Takes on Wrestling, Jaded Wrestling TV. Peace.